Thank you, Melanie. Always nice to see people who are good at being able to function with the technology. I know we get a little rusty sometimes after a long day. I've been doing meetings like this since January, so I'm thrilled to be here. So anyway, or we haven't met since January. So if any of you, do we have any motion to approve minutes from last meeting? It says, hi, Martin, and the rest of advisory council members. I move to approve the minutes as read. This is Kim. Okay, any second?
Second.
Larry seconds. Thank you, Larry. Any objections to not approve the minutes? If any objection, please open your camera. Perfect. So minutes from January's meeting are approved. And then let me look at the agenda again here. Pardon me. Okay, for those of you who just joined us, we had Melanie do roll call. So it seems everyone is here. Yay. And now we will go ahead with updates from Eric Rue, our interim director. So if you want to go ahead, Eric.
Sure, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then so my face will go away, but Crystal will interpret for me. Let's see here.
Okay.
Oh, I need Melanie to enable that for me.
Yeah, let me find your name. Hang on. Sorry, can't find you. This is a good example of we have advisory council members that can run this better than our secretary here for a second.
And Drake, I don't know if you can hear me, but your video is on. Is there a way for you to mute your video? We're getting a show.
Thank you. Thank you, McLean.
Thanks. All right, let's see if I can share now. There we go. Okay, this is going to just be a quick update. We've had several things go on in the last month and a half, and a few things to tell you about that are coming up. So I'll just run through those very quickly so we can move on to Sarah and Carol and the more interesting stuff. If I can. There we go. There we go. All right, so over the last month and a half, we've had a few interesting things go on. We've had 6 classes or events in January. Those were a variety of different issues: cooking, fitness, cryptocurrency information. In February, we had 9 additional classes. There was a virtual fitness series that was really interesting, where we had a fitness instructor from the California School for the Deaf and the USA Deaf basketball team actually lead everyone in a fitness course. So that was pretty exciting. We also had our first ever pickleball tournament, which we held on February 25th. And we had like over 20 community members show up for that the first time. And we had a huge response from the community wanting us to do it again, because a lot more people want to come going forward. We're able to actually set up 4 different pickleball courts in our gymnasium. And so we're kind of excited to see what this turns into, because we've got so much interest. The other really big thing that happened in the last month was, after a year of back ordered parts and trying to get computer things set up, our Utah Interpreter Services was able to open a live testing center in St. George. So in our St. George office, people from Southern Utah who want to get certified are now going to be able to go in live into that office and do their certification testing there. And everything is high quality and remote now for Southern Utah. So we feel really good about that. We have some upcoming events just to let you know about in March. We have, I don't know what the CEO trip is, so I'll let Pamela maybe tell you about that. But we have other classes, sewing class. Oh, Pamela, what is the CEO trip?
So that's where I plan to introduce myself to the Southern Utah Center.
Oh, yes,
We'll be
the
sitting
Southern,
down to discuss things with Amanda and Diane. So
okay, that one I knew about, but I was, yeah, so we're sending CEO down to St. George. We're going to hold a public focus group of all the community members who want to come. There'll be some entertainment and some tasty treats as well, but the idea will be to bring the community in and talk about the kinds of activities that they would like to see that center start to host, to do engaging activities, because I don't think it's been a while since we had the community come together down there to talk about the kind of activities they'd actually like to participate in. So that's what we're going to do. There's going to be a bowling and laser tag event. We continue to have our regular chats, which will be, those are always well attended. In April, we're going to also do a sewing class. There's going to be an egg painting open house along with a whole Easter celebration for the kids, bowling and laser tag again. So, there will be some activities. It's going to be nice to have a weekend event where kids can come and find Easter eggs and enjoy themselves, and everyone can kind of, enjoy the spring too. I think everyone's had enough of winter. I'm sorry, hit the wrong button. We've had some staff changes and some openings that I just want to let you all know about. We currently have openings in Salt Lake, which is for a case manager and employment specialist. We're still looking for a qualified communications assessor. And in St. George, we are looking for a case manager as well. We also have some new positions. We have reinvigorated Circle of Friends, and Christy Mortensen is located part-time out of the Sanderson Center to lead Circle of Friends activities. We have a new rehabilitation technician and event specialist, Amanda Brown in St. George. And Deanne in St. George is also taking on a new assignment. She's going to be our CEO activities assistant, and Amanda and Deanne are going to work with Pamela to create all these new activities for everyone in St. George. So we're excited about that. Some other odds and ends. We will have a new promotional video that we're going to be able to send out very soon that will showcase the division and what we're about and what we do, and it will also help promote our recruitment efforts. So that's really exciting. We've seen a recent proof of it and it's looking really good. So we'll expect to see that soon. The CEO team is now moving ahead with an 18-month plan to update our social media outreach and video production so that we can start to produce original content and move things along, so people will get interesting things in a variety of social media ways every week. That's going to be a big change and it's exciting. We just have to phase it in over the next few months. Circle of Friends has been reactivated. It had kind of gone away for a year or two, but now it's once again active, and we've already had I think 1 or 2 events, and every month we should have another event for Deaf Plus individuals. And facility upgrades, those are ongoing, but we are moving forward. We've got bids coming in for a lot of nice upgrades, like new carpet, new lighting, new paint throughout the building. We're also getting an accessible ramp on the north side. We're looking at outdoor lighting, and there's a bunch of other improvements that are going to be prioritized with our facilities management division over the next probably coming year or 2 years, depending on how big the projects are. So that's all the really exciting stuff that's going on. I'm going to stop my sharing now. And Pamela, do you want to fill in the last little bit on CEO activities?
Do you mind showing the slide with the Northern Center activities again?
Sure.
You actually showed the Southern, but not the Northern. We actually have a lot going on that we missed out on. So.
Let me see if I can get it. Here we go. Yeah, so just so you can see a list, and this isn't even comprehensive. There's more stuff that's getting planned almost every week, it seems like. So this is just a really quick example. Gardening, dog training, senior citizens trip, coda time, circle of friends paint time. So again, these are the things that are a snapshot that we just knew today, but by next week we're going to have some more exciting things. So anyway, invite you all to participate in these events, of course. And if you have ideas for events, you also are always free to share them with Pamela or myself, so we can see when we can work them into the schedule as well, because we like that. We like the center to be active and to offer as much for the community as possible. All right, so Martin, that was my update. I will go ahead and mute myself now, and you can move to Sarah, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Eric. So just hold for a moment here to see if there are any questions for Eric first. From Eric's wonderful report, it's nice to see more and more things happening now that COVID is waning. Hopefully, as that continues, we'll see even more. So, all right, any questions? You can open your camera if you have a question. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to Sarah with a legislative update. So let's welcome Sarah, the higher up director.
Hi, thanks, Martin. Okay, so I was asked to give a little bit of a legislative update. The legislative session just ended. Gosh, it's almost 2 weeks ago now. It seems like it was yesterday. I don't have a lot. In fact, we don't have anything that directly impacted USOR or DSDHH. But I will say that our budget is intact and there are no concerns or cuts that occurred that it would affect anything related to operation of the center and all the good things that we're doing there. So that's good news. I will talk a little bit about, first, wait, I have to say, I just saw Cody's name here. I have to thank Cody Simonson. We had and Julie actually too did this the last time, but our governor has started doing staff meetings for the entire state of Utah. And in those meetings, excuse me, my voice is got a frog in my throat. The governor actually talks to all the staff about things that are going on. The lieutenant governor participates. And it's really cool that we have worked with the governor enough that we now have a live interpreter during these meetings. And so Julie was our experiment. She got to do the first one. And then Cody, you did an excellent job. I just wanted to say thank you to both of you actually for doing that. And I know our employees who utilize ASL were very happy, and I've heard nothing but positive comments. So thank you to both of you. And I believe those are going to be quarterly, so we'll be in touch. Okay, so back to the legislative updates. The Department of Workforce Services, as you know, is a very big department. There are a lot of things that go on that don't necessarily impact us directly, but they do impact our communities. So I wanted to go through some of those things with you. A lot of it has to do with housing and homelessness. Those are two things that have been very big efforts that have gone on and very big needs in our communities. So I did want to go through some of the funding that was awarded to DWS that will then be passed through contracts and grants to various providers of services, and they'll be able to apply for money. Most of these things would go through our Division of Housing and Community Development. They have a lot of networks already with local communities and planners, development, anything like that. So the first one is we received $55 million. You might have seen this in the paper for, oh good, okay. I thought don't you want the interpreter highlighted? Somehow I just got spotlighted and now the interpreter looks really little.
Someone's mentioning that they can't see both, so they're working on that. Martin says you need to click on the gallery view in order to see the grid. So yeah, click gallery view. That way you can see both Sarah and the interpreter at the same time.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I'll just keep it. It's just weird. It just switched. It was very strange. Okay. So this funding is $55 million that will go to low-income housing. It's actually deeply affordable housing. What that means is it's basically for individuals who are homeless or don't have stable housing. Part of the money would also go to case management. So it would be deeply affordable housing for those who are not housed permanently, who also could benefit from case management services. This is a lot of our homeless individuals that we work with at the resource centers. There was also some money given to our Office of Homelessness Services. That was a new office that was created at DWS last year. And former Senator Wayne Niederhauser, okay, is the new director of that office. And we have some staff that help him, but they needed some additional help to do a good job with that. There's also some money, $5 million, that's going to cities, local governments, to provide some help with ongoing needs of homeless populations in those cities and shelters. So that was helpful for the different cities. There was $1.25 million in one-time money provided to help with affordable housing. And again, these would be things that again would go out to communities and cities, counties, developers that are building low-income housing. And there was also 132,000 ongoing. That was probably for staffing for those grant funds. There's a homeless resource center loan repayment plan. We've got about $1 million that will help support the cities that have the homeless resource centers, or the organizations that manage those. Lots of politics and history around homelessness the last 4 or 5 years. $15 million for a housing preservation fund. This is money that we administer that can help people pay their rent, pay a mortgage, help stay in their homes. There's $5 million for law enforcement, first-time home buyers. And just remember, we don't ask for a lot of this money. We asked for a couple of things, and then otherwise this money is usually requested by other groups, and then they give it to us to manage and to contract out. And then there was some temporary Utah County housing for refugees, $300,000. So those are the main things that the department was involved in. There were some other minor legislation that affected different committees, nothing that was really impactful to the department or that we're concerned about. So all in all, I think it was a really good legislative session. We did get some money appropriated to give staff some compensation increases, both for cost of living, and then also some targeted increases for specific positions that were identified as being very under market. So, so anyway, we're very happy about that, and I think our employees will be happy about that. They work really hard, and we are very behind in compensation in the state of Utah. I think that's it, unless there's any other questions about other things that people might be aware of.
Martin says, well, it sounds like it's been a very busy session.
Mhm.
And a relief that we were not facing any cuts. So that's a great sign. John, did you have a question? And John's just asking to have the camera moved in his direction. And Martin says, beautiful dog, John. Let's see. I'm wondering if you haven't thought about doing any classes or community events for the homeless to help them become more aware of how to be able to keep their homes and not be evicted or lose their homes. Any thoughts on that? Sometimes the homeless don't have the life skills or the budgeting skills in order to know how to be able to keep their home. And so a lot of issues involved with that, with the homelessness. And wondered if there's any plans to have classes. I've never seen anything like that. I just wondered if that's been a consideration, and maybe some more community support to help educate the homeless on how to improve their life skills so that they're able, again, to keep their home. And Martin says, that's a good question, John. Let Sarah go ahead and answer that.
Okay. The short answer is yes, but there's always more that can be done. I would say that we rely, well, there's a couple things we do. One is we have very close connections with the various housing authorities, community action programs. We work with advocates, we work with homeless committees. I mean, we are very involved in the community where there may be homelessness. Now, that's not going to apply to people who aren't seeking services, perhaps, or that we haven't caught. So I think it's a good idea to do some other outreach. And if you're talking specifically about blind, deafblind, hard of hearing, individuals who may not be able to access those services, we could certainly talk to that office about preparing some information that we could also share on our DSDHH website or get out to the advisory council. There is a whole website that we've developed for housing resources that I can send to Melanie to send out. And there are a lot of community programs that provide classes that we can certainly refer people to. So let's see what we've got. I'll see what I can find and pull together, and I'll get it to Melanie to send it out. And then we can talk internally at DSDHH and see if there's value. We had done a video at one point, I think, about housing assistance being available through the federal government in ASL. So we can do some outreach, which I think would be actually a really good idea if you would like us to do that.
And Mark says, thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
It may not meet the need right now, but it does prepare the way for a lot of upcoming scenarios that where we'll see a better chance of success. So thank you for that. Does anyone else have any questions for Sarah? Go ahead, Kim. Sarah, appreciate your report. One thing I was thinking, I just want to make sure that DSDHH has a strong collaboration with these different agencies and these departments. I am a firm believer that many deaf just aren't aware that things are happening out there. And so regardless of whether it's DSDH doing the outreach, I feel like it's just not enough. That, and outreach can be a challenge for us to try to find those partners. So I would love it if we saw other departments who have a deaf consumer and they know immediately that they need to reach out to our division right away so we can offer the help. That's what my goal is to see is a better partnership between DSDHH and other departments or divisions, whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a great suggestion. And I think we want to do everything. I mean, we need to do all of these things to make sure the word is getting out. So I will compile as much information that we already have. Our caseworkers are one resource, but I mean, we've got the whole community out there, people who are not connected with any service, you know, and we want to get the word out broadly. Some of these dollars are federal dollars and they will expire in a couple of years, but we have a lot of money right now to try to get out there for people in housing. So I will also talk to the housing people. They're down below me a couple floors. Christina Oliver is the director of the Division of Community and Housing Development. I think she'd be excited to look at some better outreach opportunities. And, you know, we can help facilitate that or introductions, whatever you need.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you, Kim. Anyone else have any questions for Sarah? Okay, well, thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work you do for the deaf community, the deaf and hard of hearing community and deafblind community.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Okay, it is 5:32. It's time for me to go, but you'll see on the agenda where it talks about a committee update. I'm going to cancel that item, but I will send that out in an email. We have 6 people who have volunteered to be on a committee, as well as myself and Katie. And Katie and I will chair that. We're ex officio, which means we will be a part of the committee, but not run the committee. So these 6 plus myself and Katie are 8. So that leaves about 6 of you who I would strongly encourage review the different committees. We have 3 committees and choose one that you would like to serve on. And then more information about what the expectations are for each committee will come next month in April. So watch for that email to be coming out shortly. Okay, I've got to run, but I did want to introduce you to Carol Rudell. Carol is the one who was responsible for the survey. She compiled all the results, and so we'll get a recording of that, so I won't miss anything while I'm gone tonight. So welcome, Carol. And thank you, Katie, for taking over for me tonight. Have a great evening, everyone. Okay, go ahead, Carol. Carol, you're muted.
Of course I'm muted, because that's how it works. I'm just going to let the interpreters interpret for me this evening. I know we have limited time and I would like to get through this and just be ready to field any questions you all have. Let's see. Melanie, can I share my screen? Oh, I can. Thank you so very much. All right. Hopefully you guys can see all that. I'm an old person in the community. I've been around a long time, but in my current position, I'm an administrator at the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. We've had a long history of trying to serve many communities and many languages and many cultures from this division. It's always a challenge. I would be the first to say, whether we're working with deaf community members, hard of hearing, deaf blind, whether we're trying to serve individuals who speak Spanish or who are Pacific Islander, you know, mental health and substance use services vary a lot by community. And in the past, we've maybe not done that as well. And we wanted to really change that. So back before I came here in 2020, there was already a collaboration between the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health, and if you want to abbreviate that, as DSAMH. That will be just fine. But the collaboration included Arlene Gunderson at the time, who was the director of
Hey, Carol, we
DSDHH.
can see your notes if that's.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what happens when you're trying. Oh, you can see my notes? Well. Oh, that is weird. Well, that's what happens when you play with, good grief. I apologize. It's not even letting me get out of it. That is hilarious. Try this again. I may just have to do it this way if y'all don't mind. Oops, no, you still see it. Oh, I have too many screens open. I'm sorry. I apologize for wasting your time. I appreciate your patience. It still shows, even though it shows on my computer, it's not showing. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm just going to keep going if y'all don't mind. Anyway, so over the course of many discussions with Arlene, Annette, we started with Jeremy Christensen and Kim Myers, who are here at the division, and really just tried to project what do we need to do to better serve our community who is deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind. As a consequence, we made the decision to establish some goals. And first, we really needed to understand what is currently happening for clients who need substance use or mental health services within the deaf community, who are hard of hearing, who are deafblind, or who use American Sign Language. What exists and how are people accessing it? With the ultimate goal then to improve those services. But if we don't even know what's happening, it was very difficult for us to truly figure out where do we go from here if we don't know what we have. We wanted to be sure that we established high quality services in all languages, whether that's American Sign Language, whether that's spoken language, maybe Spanish or whatever, but the culture and the language would be high quality services for those individuals. So we identified a few strategies to go with that, and that included things like hiring a program manager who could conduct some research around behavioral health. Certainly, that's a piece of understanding what our current services are. We also wanted to identify what a needs assessment would look like, both for individuals, because it's two sides of an equation here. We need to understand what is happening with individuals who are seeking services, but we also needed to understand what is happening for individuals, providers, clinicians who are trying to serve that population. And in doing so, we wanted to be sure that we were listening to all sides of this equation, whether it was a seeker of services or a provider of services. At the end of a needs assessment, we wanted to be able to make recommendations for improving that healthcare system. And we wanted to develop a process that would help us not just improve it for clients, but improve it for providers. And that means entering a contracting process. We figured if we can find ways to increase the number of providers, then we can look at finding a way that better serves them so that they're able to serve the clients. We also wanted to provide technical assistance to those providers, because in reality, many of them are not able to they don't understand, where do I find interpreters? How do I pay for interpreters? What other accommodations might a client need? So we wanted to be able to provide them with strategies and ways that they can better serve their clients. So in terms of what we did now, what we've done since 2021 is we did hire a research person, and that's Brad Godfrey. And I'm going to turn time over to him and let him run through what we're currently doing. But we also wanted to go a step further and not just consider, thank you, Brad. We wanted to go a step further and see, has anyone nationally provided these services. Has anyone nationally ever done a needs assessment with the deaf and hard of hearing or deafblind in terms of substance use and mental health services? You can go to the next slide, Brad. So in the process of doing that, we had to develop a research plan and a needs assessment plan. And as has been mentioned, we conducted a survey. Well, we're still conducting a survey. We are not complete in terms of what we're doing. But any research that works with individuals in particular must receive institutional review board approval. So a proposal was written for the research and it was provided to the Department of Human Services Institutional Review Board, or IRB. They evaluated it, they made suggestions, and at the end of the day, they finally approved it and said, yes, you can proceed with this because you're going to protect the individual's identities who participate. It's fully confidential. And so we were able to get approval for that. Then it turned into designing an online portion for that needs assessment. And I won't kid you, everything that's on this screen, it's like, oh, that shouldn't take too long at all. Well, the IRB process itself is several months, but creating an online system for surveys that includes American Sign Language is also incredibly complicated. So that took a lot of time too. So I'm gonna let Brad talk about what we're currently doing. That's just our history up to now. And I'll just turn it over to Brad. Thanks, Brad.
So I wanted to explain a few things about what we're working on now. We're working on 4 areas. The first is the online needs assessment survey. Second are focus groups and one-on-one interviews that will be done in either ASL or spoken English. And then also developing some tools for providers for the deaf and hard of hearing who provide providers who provide behavioral health services. And then also establish a contracting process for providing more direct services with providers using ASL. The needs assessment, the survey was for 3 different categories. You see the professional clinical providers, professional non-clinical providers, and then the deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind public of Utah specifically. So each survey will be based around needs of those groups, people who fall into those categories. If they need communication access, that was one of the most important things for the survey. So they are done both with videos in ASL, as well as, and captions, as well as written English for each question and each response. So each response has that, and then there is a GIF video attached to it to show what that response is. That in and of itself required a lot of work, working with Qualtrics to ensure that all of this access could happen for both Android and iOS mobile devices. So all of that took time to develop the online survey, but it will be fully accessible in both text and ASL. So the response to the previous survey, we didn't get as much as we had hoped. However, the response numbers for general deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind, we had many who accessed the first portion, which was the consent portion. They signed that and then they accessed the survey, but there were fewer responses than those who went into the survey and looked. So we were thinking maybe something was wrong. So in looking at why many people didn't actually finish the survey, we noticed the English consent form. You would read it through and say you consented at the bottom. The ASL video, getting through that was a little bit of a different experience. And we're thinking maybe that could be the reason why it just drug out the process. And that made a lot of people not continue on to the second portion of the actual survey. We immediately contacted the IRB to approve our process, who had approved our process and asked if we could make some edits on the deaf and hard of hearing, deaf-blind portion with the ASL, and that we got approval on that. So we were able to make it fit that mode better. So soon we will be resending that survey. And then the second thing we noticed is that we maybe didn't send it to enough people in the community. We didn't get it out to enough people. So the RIB had not approved for social media. So we contacted them again to ask if we could access this through social media to let people know information about the survey. And we did get approval for that. So now when we send it out again with the survey, if you notice, you'll see it. If you notice it, see it come up, please share it within your social media groups as well, so we can get more responses. So if you answer all of the questions for the survey, then the final question asks if you would like to be involved in a focus group or interview. We had a few of the people who had responded say they would like to be in a focus group. So we started scheduling those. The first one will actually be occurring this Friday. So we have separate groups in regards to language. So we will have an ASL group and we will have an spoken English language group. We received more, once we've received more responses with the general survey, then we will go ahead and schedule more as well. We're hoping with the deaf-blind that we can get more deaf-blind Utahns involved, that we can get that shared out more and that we can get more participation from them as well. Communicating with deaf-blind individuals who may need tactile access or close proximity access. So we will be able to accommodate those things as well. Okay, the third area that we are working on is focusing on developing some helpful strategies for clinical providers. While we were establishing what would best help improve services and access for the deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind, we noticed that often there's struggle in arranging for interpreters or just understanding the process of how to request and pay for interpreters. So we thought if there was some sort of document that we could take and then train clinical providers with, teach them what to do. And really the survey and focus groups also will help us know what more we need to let them know. So we're kind of waiting on those results as well. And then we will be able to do more training and more assistance to those clinical providers. Lastly, remember we talked about increasing the quality of providers. So those who are working with deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind are great, but can we set up a contracting process where if someone is identified as needing, like within the DOPL licensing or best practices or state contract monitoring, that we can see that there's been some sort of process. There's some small organizations that haven't yet become Medicaid providers. So if they could contract directly with DMASH, then we could be able to pay them directly rather than them having to become a Medicaid provider, which can be a long and arduous process. Something that just is more effective in them contracting directly with our agency. One additional concern that we've heard from providers is they say, oh, I'm fluent in ASL, and then they're not. So that's another thing, is we need to look into a better way to evaluate and recognize who is truly fluent in ASL as a provider, if they are claiming that, so that they can provide that. So Gallaudet University provides the ASLPI. And that's become a pretty nationwide standard for direct communication use in ASL. So maybe finding some evidence of that and including that as a requirement for them to be a direct service provider for deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind individuals. Okay, so the order of how these are happening is actually changed a little bit. We also have what we're hoping to see in the future: recruit service providers through our contracting process, then train, provide some sort of training document and provide training on serving those who are deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind. We need to evaluate. The information we have is going to require a lot of evaluation from this needs assessment, especially with all of the different groups and different themes, and see where we see common themes in our work. And then the focus groups and interviews as well, as we're starting now. So once all of these things are happening, the final written report will come together and be submitted to DMASH for them, for leadership there to help inform the rest of us for what to do next as in regards to serving the deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing communities. So application of all of those is going to take time as well. Okay. Any questions? I welcome questions. Pamela, not even Pamela, you've got nothing?
Hi, this is Katie. I have just a quick question. I just wanted to clarify. Are you saying you're doing the survey over again in addition to starting a focus group for the one you already did? I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
We are reopening the survey, yes.
The survey that we're reopening is only for our what we call our deaf public, for deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind individuals. The criteria, the numbers that we needed in terms of a response rate for clinicians, professionals in the state, as well as other professionals who serve the deaf but are not licensed clinicians. Both of the response rates for those two surveys were adequate. They meet the research criteria. We just did not have enough response for our, what we're calling our public response. So non-clinicians, non-serving individuals. We really hope by reopen, normally in a research study, you don't just reopen things. That's why we had to go back to the IRB to get that permission. They felt that under the circumstances, it would not impact any results. We're not looking to publish in a journal, a professional journal with this information. It's truly a needs assessment. So they were very willing to provide an avenue for us to reopen so that we can really get a better response rate.
Hi, I have a question. This is Kim. So, well, a comment / question. I'm Kim with Utah Association of the Deaf. I'm the president. I was watching your presentation and you mentioned that deaf and hard of hearing, you didn't have enough responses to get a true feel for what's going. And that made me think maybe their perception of the needs assessment was mental health. I don't have anything to do with this. I don't need to respond. So I'm wondering if that may have affected the number of answers as well. So if I might recommend maybe a brief video explaining this is a needs assessment for everyone living in Utah. So it's not just for you to answer, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with you as you personally, is highly confidential. No one's going to say anything about anything like that, because then maybe you'll have more people willing to participate in the survey. So that's my recommendation, is maybe a different kind of approach.
I could answer that if you want me to. Kim, you are spot on. That is exactly what we were concerned about. And what we've done this time around is we are providing, rather than just an email going out, we're embedding an ASL within that video so that it's not just text. All of the challenges of trying to make this fully accessible have been overwhelming, but we have been very committed to making this fully accessible. And what I would say is, I think you are exactly right. We stepped back, we thought about how we had done it, and we have actually created a different video that is actually more of a promotion video, so that individuals don't feel like it's about you, because it's not. It's more general. It is fully confidential, and yeah, hopefully, and then individuals like you all sharing that out within your own networks would certainly help as well. It's always a good idea when we have someone endorse, if you will, our support, and we certainly appreciate anything you can do for that as well. Brad?
Yes, that I think when you see the video, I think you'll like it. Carol and I are actually very proud of that. So deaf individual experienced with Utah. You'll see it come out soon, but I don't want to give you any spoilers. So that's a little spoiler alert, but you'll see it soon. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we have the opportunity to really take advantage of this opportunity to serve. So thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for allowing us to come and speak with you. We're thrilled to be able to interact with the community anytime we can.
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for that information. I think that's really helpful. I'm excited to see what new responses come from opening that back up again. So thank you for all your efforts and your time to put that together on our behalf. So let me look again at our agenda. Can you hear me? I'm
Yes.
not sure if I'm muting or unmuting myself. I'm so sorry. So let me pull up, Melanie, what's next on our agenda? I don't have that right in front of me. Can you help me?
Yeah, it's just roundtable.
Now it's the round. Thank you. Thanks, Melanie.
Yes, sure.
So now we're just going to open it up for any roundtable discussions, anything anybody has that they want to share. And while you're thinking about that, and I just want to share really quickly a little bit of a recap about the World Hearing Day that Kelly helped the Utah Eddie Project, the Utah Parent Center, and the Health Clinics of Utah. We did for the first time this year in Utah. We decided to do something for World Hearing Day, which was on March 3rd. And what we did was free hearing screenings for refugees at the Health Clinics of Utah. And Kelly came, we put together some goodie bags for families and individuals who came to get their hearing screened. And Kelly brought some really amazing swag from DSDHH for us to add to those bags. So I just really wanted to thank Kelly for her time and her contribution. She came and sat with us. I do have some pictures that I need to share. Did I get frozen?
No,
Did I
you're
freeze?
okay.
I'm okay. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you for her time. She came and we made 200 bags and passed out not as many as we want to do that day, but we were able to leave them with the Health Clinics of Utah. So they let us know that they have about 50 refugees coming in every week. And they found out they have been doing hearing screenings on them, but they were not doing the right kind of hearing screenings. So it was really great opportunity for us to do some education about appropriate use of hearing screening equipment and how to do an appropriate hearing screening for them going forward, so that when we have refugees coming in to the state of Utah, if they do have any hearing problems, that we can properly identify them and get them to the right resources and connect them. So going forward, that's an initiative we're pretty excited about. So thank you so much to Kelly for all of her time and energy to put the DSDHH touch on that project. So thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, John. I see that you've got your hand raised.
Hello. I just wanted to let everyone know that in Oregon, there is a deaf-blind interpreter immersion workshop this month. And so some of you may be aware that the two interpreters, Cody and Melina, sorry, he's far away. Can you interpreters there? So two interpreters will be attending that training. So again, it's not just the regular ASL tactile training, it will be other training involved. So they will be attending that. And let's see what else. And we're happy to support them in their journey in improving their pro-tactile interpreting skills. Let's see. Also wanted to share that there is a workshop, there is availability for the workshop in WOU, Western Oregon University. And that's in partnership with the Agency of Pro-Tactile Training. And I will be attending that as well. And we'll be there for 2 months to become fully trained and become a trainer eventually myself in pro-tactile. And so I will be returning in August, and I'll leaving sometime in the third week of May and returning in August. So I'll be receiving training for 2.5 months and then become a trainer myself, and would like to reach out to the different interpreter agencies and help train interpreters in our community on pro-tactile techniques. And I can email Cody more information on that workshop, the DB from DSBVI. So, and that workshop will be a 5-year grant cycle. And that this is the first year in that cycle. And it was supposed to be held earlier, but because of COVID, it was put off due to in-person training, which is required. Will be started up this year. You can go ahead and mute on John's end. Thank you. Anyway, looking forward to those workshops through DSBVI, and I feel like it will really benefit our community, and that we'll have more people versed in ProTactile and have received the training there, so that which will then in turn benefit the deafblind community. Sometimes it's difficult for me to always have to train my own interpreters, so it'll be nice. And again, I will send that information out to Cody, and if anyone else is interested, they can get in touch with me through Melanie Sperry can share my contact information with you. So I believe that's all, unless anyone has any questions for me regarding that.
So John, can I just ask a clarifying question? You said that's a training for tactile interpreters, and not just to become an interpreter, but to be able to train other tactile interpreters. Is that correct?
So again, just a little bit of background. About 3.5 years ago, we had 2 deafblind individuals who flew in to Utah and came to the center. They were from Oregon and one from Minnesota. Both are deafblind, and to help give more information and exposure to our community about deafblind ProTactile. And so I was involved in that workshop held a couple years ago. It was a 3-day workshop, and there were others involved. I remember Brad Godfrey was also in attendance in that 3-day workshop. It was basically a crash course in ProTactile, and maybe Pamela was there. Anyway, there were several deaf people from the division attended. A lot of staff members were there. Anyway, I applied, and to make a long story short, I am now in the process of being approved for funding to go to Oregon for this 2.5-month training. I'm familiar with some ProTactile, but I'm not versed completely, so I want to become fluent in that. And so I will be going to Oregon and be trained in depth on how to train others in ProTactile. And so they will be teaching me, we'll be some more life skills and using communicating using ProTactile method. And so that will hopefully that helps. And then I'll come back and be able to train interpreters how to use ProTactile. And so not just the regular tactile, it's ProTactile, which is different. And I have approval for interpreters to become trained and to also become trainers. So hopefully that answers your question, Katie.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Thank you, John. I'm excited to hear how it goes. You'll have to let us know when you come back.
Okay, I can send you information as well. Any other questions for me?
I don't see any hands, John. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I know McLean. Oh, Joe, you've got a question. Hold on. Sorry, before we move on, Joe, go ahead.
Joe, you're muted.
You're pretty quick on that, but did you see my hand was up? like for about 15 minutes. Anyway, I had a question for Julie. I think earlier she had mentioned something about an update or something about the committees next month. But we're not going to meet next month, are we?
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to clarify that. So one of the reasons why we moved to a bi-monthly meeting is so that the subcommittees could meet on the in-between. So the subcommittees will meet on their own bi-monthly. So alternating schedule with the committee meetings that we're holding with these advisory council meetings. So the subcommittee meetings will meet next month, and then we'll have advisory council the following month and report on what did we meet about in your committee. Does that make sense?
No.
No.
And
And I apologize for not seeing your hand. I'm on my phone, and so I don't get everything. So I'm sorry.
Katie, I understood all that very clearly, but
Okay.
what I thought I heard Julie say is she had an item about the committees for next month, like an update. And I'm thinking, well, we may meet individually, but I don't know what she had in mind. I think she meant May instead of April.
Do you mean Sarah? Melanie, do you know? Melanie's got her camera on. Maybe she knows the question.
I think Martin Price mentioned that the agenda item, there was a committee updates. That's what will be sent out. That he will send that out through email to everyone. Okay. And all the subcommittees. Some have joined already, one of the 3 committees that we have, and we have some who have not responded to their membership on one of those committees. So he will be sending out information about that, and that's what Martin was referring to.
Okay.
Does that answer your question now, Joe?
It does. It does.
Okay. We had a question in the chat as well. How will we know which committee we are on and when the committee meets? So Larry, you get to sign up for the subcommittee you would like to participate on. Martin sent out an email a while ago with the option to say which committee and what they were. And Melanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but he will be sending out an email with a schedule. Is that correct?
Yes, he will email out the 3 committees, what each committee does, and then who's interested in which committee and joining which committee, and then he will explain what they're going to do and when they're going to meet.
Okay, thank you. And Cody is just clarifying that the email Martin originally sent was on February 13th. So if that helps you, maybe look in your email boxes a little bit. And the subject line said no advisory council meeting this month. So that was from February. And that's the one that has the information in it about the subcommittees and how to sign up for which one you would like to participate on. So does that answer all the questions about the subcommittees? If so, I'm going to turn the time over to McLean. He had something he wanted to share.
Yes.
McLean, did you still want to share an update?
Yeah, I just I saw
Okay,
there was
there
a
you go.
comment down below, so I just wanted to make sure there were no other questions. Hey, I'm McLean Drake. Some of you guys know me. I figured I would give an update on some of the things I'm working on, just so then all the different committees can keep involved with some of the things that I get the privilege of working on. So I had the privilege of working with Sonova on their hearing day as well, with one of being their US rep for kind of advocating hearing health and hearing loss in general. So it was a big milestone. But they've asked me to gather any feedback from the deaf, hard of hearing, or even the hearing community on things that they can do better as a company. And it can be anything, whether it comes to their hearing aids, to their hearing accessibilities, or them as a company. They just like feedback in general. So if you guys have anything to add, just feel free to reach out to me personally, and I can definitely relay that information, and so then we can start making positive changes to make sure that we're doing our best. And then also, I believe I mentioned this before, but the Megaplex, they've been trying to do more open caption screenings. That's an effort of me working with them throughout the years. They've been trying to make a big push to do, I think it looks like about 3 different open captions, I think at each theater a day. Obviously it fluctuates and such, but yes, so they do that. And then they also, if you call in advance, give them 3 days or more, they can typically do open captions if you request it via the front desk. And then if there are any issues that you guys experience with that, just as I said with Sonova, it's the same thing applies there. Just give me a holler. I can get whatever issues you are facing resolved and to the proper handlings, and obviously keep you updated so you know it is actually being taken care of. Aside from that, just wanted to give those updates, and if there's anything I can do to help out anyone else's committee or people in general, just feel free to let me know, and I'm more than willing to help out in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, McLean. Does anybody else have any thing they would like to share?
Yes, this is Kim. Hi, Katie. Hello, everyone. As you're aware, I am the president of the Utah Association of the Deaf. And what we're currently working on is focusing on the national level. I'm calling for a general business meeting coming up next month. It will be held in person at DSDHH in the gym. And we're inviting people to come to make a decision to select some delegates. That way we can send these delegates to Florida, where they will hold the National Association of the Deaf convention. And there are motions to decide which are the top 5 priorities for the next 2 years. So anything that you feel that requires national attention, please let us know. And then we can send that with our delegates to make motions at the national conference. And we did make a motion before April 30th, or we need to make a motion before April 30th. That way they're able to screen all the motions and combine any like motions as a package. And that then they'll make a national motion. If there's anything that's similar, again, they'll pair those together. And so this conference will be happening this summer, June 30th through July 4th. And that will be in Orlando, Florida. Let's see. So if there's anything that you feel like the National Association of the Deaf needs to be looking at on the national level, please email me. president@uad.org is my contact information, and we'll look into it. And if it requires attention, just let us know. And we'll be really busy this summer. Any questions for me?
Okay, easy peasy. See you next time.
do we have anything else? Thank you, Kim, for those updates, first of all. Sorry. Anything else? If we don't have anything else, we can adjourn early today. So would someone like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Kim. Anyone to second? Cody. Thank you so much. All right, we are officially adjourned. Everyone, have a wonderful few weeks. Be looking for an email from Martin about subcommittee meeting times. And if you have any problems, feel free to email Martin and copy Melanie on that. Have a great time, everybody. See you soon.